Alrighty guys, here is a look at the editor. Just loads up Edgeville right now. Loading a 228 revision OSRS cache at the moment. Just to kind of go over everything. We have a T panel here, which you can hide by pressing T. It's a hotkey, and then we have the N panel here, which you can hide by pressing N. So yeah, what the T panel has is a select tile tool, so you can use this for a number of things. One of them being a selection. Obviously, you could do control, or you could do control plus C to copy. You could copy whichever you want here. You could do that. It shows the preview of what you're going to copy. You can rotate it, and you can paste. So yeah. And that's an idea of the copy tool. Pretty straightforward. That's the main function of it, really, at least off the top of my head. I might think of something later, but that's the main function of the copy tool. Obviously, you don't have to do full buildings. You can do a single tile, you can do a full region. It's completely up to you. Then you have a select object tool. This is kind of nice. It shows a pretty clean outline of any object that you want, and then you select the object. And here you can do the same sort of function. You can do control plus C to copy, and then control plus V to paste. So now you can just take any object that you just copied, control plus V, you're pasting it. Super easy to use. Pretty straightforward function here. You just can select any object that you want. One thing to keep in mind is if you have show all heights on, you cannot select any of these upper level objects. You need to change your height level to be able to reach those objects. As you can see, now they're highlighting, whereas they previously weren't when I'm on height level 0. So something to keep in mind. Then you have delete object. Tried to make it pretty obvious with the red versus the yellow selection here. So delete object is pretty much what it sounds like. You can just click, drag, or you can just click. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Placing or spawning object. Here you can go to the object spawner or the object viewer and choose any object you want. I add a nice little preview here so you can see exactly what it is that you can also look up anything you want. So if you wanted to look up like say a chest, for example, it would show all of the associated chests here, and then you could just drag it to the game, rotate it around, do what you want. Then we have select NPC. So NPCs are spawned in a JSON file that is provided for you guys inside the Discord. You can delete objects though, or delete NPCs. So same sort of look here. You can just delete them. And then spawning NPCs, same sort of deal as objects. You select an NPC, you can place it anywhere you want. You can look NPCs up if you want to. You can spawn them as you want, wherever you want, etc. I added animation support as well, as you can see. So you have this here is a legacy NPC, so it uses legacy animations. And then I also have added skeletal animations for newer models like Scurious, for example. Height tool, this is pretty straightforward. You start with just a one tile here. If you hold control and scroll up on your mouse wheel, you can see that your brush increases in size. You can also manually control it here. You have a rectangle, you have circle, a checkered pattern. Yeah, pretty straightforward. You have strength and the target height that you want to go with. So just to show you how this works, again, pretty straightforward. Clicking is going to raise, like holding down left mouse button is going to raise the terrain. If I hold down shift and click, it's going to lower the terrain. And then if I hold down control and click, it's going to smooth the terrain. I can also set exact heights. So I can come here and say I want to set this to 1,000. I hold down Alt, and then I click, and it, yeah, obviously it snaps the terrain to the height that you had selected. So again, pretty straightforward stuff. If you use other editors like RSPSI in the past, it functions about the same way that did. And then you have the strength here if you really want to, which as you see, it drastically changes things. So you can have this tool as pretty nuts as you want. I would suggest staying at a pretty low strength level just to make fine-tune adjustments as you go. Because honestly, even being at level 1, that's going to be more than enough for most editing that you ever need to do. So anyways, moving to paint overlay. I manually click this here. You do not have to manually click it every time. You could just say you're on the height tool. Say I'm here in the swatches, I'm in overlays, and I want to paint some water onto the terrain. I click it, it automatically goes to the paint overlay tool. I can again change my brush size by holding down Control and using my mouse wheel, scrolling. And I can just paint on overlays as freely as I would like. So pretty straightforward. It's as you would expect. The underlays function the same. So as you see, I'm not going to click the underlay button there. I'm just going to come over here and let's just choose a random color. Automatically goes to paint overlays, as you see. So we can again adjust the brush size with holding down Control and using the mouse wheel, and then just painting. So again, works the exact same as you would expect in previous editors that you've probably worked with. So yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty intuitive. The spline path, I want to make sure that it utilizes these different angles, these different brush shapes, which to revert back to the overlays and everything, if you hold down Z, this radial interface will pop up. And it disappears, but if you hold down Z, it'll stay. So anyways, hold down Z and you can change to any brush type that you want. So if I wanted to go to, this half, this 45-degree here, I can do that, I thought that this was just a lot quicker of a way to change brush types. I took that from Blender. A lot of the design options that I had gone with is a mix of Blender, which if you've used Blender, you know that N and T are shortcuts to, or hotkeys to open up these different toolbars. So that's from Blender. The other different things like High Tool, little brush here from like Unreal Engine 5, if you guys have ever worked with any other engines as well. So anyways, back to the spline tool. Click the spline tool. I click an overlay that I want to use. And what I do is I just click a path. Let's say I want to use a wooden path. So I'll click the spline tool once I previously selected the overlay. So you have to select the overlay you want and then select the spline path tool. And then you just click. Say I had a path going this way. And then leading maybe to the bridge over here. I have all my waypoints here. I press enter and it generates the path. This is a 3x3 path. This here, I can tell you right now, I've spent hundreds of hours making very large scale maps, and this spline path tool alone will save you a disgusting amount of time. So heavily recommend using this tool as much as you can. Then we have the ramp tool. This is similar to the spline path tool in the sense that you do waypoints as well. So as you see, I chose a waypoint here. I clicked over here. This elevation is higher, so it snaps this terrain to that height. You can create these sort of pathways, these ramps, and as you see, it kind of falls down to the lowest terrain here. So you have a nice ramp going here, a little land bridge, and yeah, I figured that this would be a pretty nice tool for quite a few things, but pretty straightforward to use. The bridge tool, this in theory should work the exact same way that the bridge tool worked for RSPSI. One thing that we can test really quick, I'm just going to set 2 spots, let's say to 1,000. Let's delete these objects. Actually, I'd like to just do a straight path. We can do it angled, and I can show you that here in a second, but alrighty. So we have the bridge tool here. Same sort of concept. We're using our waypoints again. So we're going to select this. As you see, the bridge type, the profile is flat. The width is a 3x3. So we have these two waypoints. I'm going to press enter, and as you would expect, a bridge is generated. The bridge flags as well should also be generated. The flags for the bridge are generated, so works as you would expect. Again, we can go back and show overlays. Perfect. So now, going to a different bridge type. If we press /, now our profile is an arch. So say we want to make, and this might be a little tricky because it's on a diagonal. Anybody that's worked with a grid-based map editor, actually let's just go straight over here. Anyway, what I was going to say, anybody that's worked with a grid-based map editor, doing diagonals is a little finicky. It's why you have object type 9 that are already pre-rendered at 45 degrees. So anyways, not to spend a ton of time on this, just to show you that you can create multiple bridge types. So anyways, we'll press enter to save that. Then we have the flags. This is as you would expect. Here we have camera, brush, distance, render, visibility, debugging, and performance. So we can just go down the list really quick. We have perspective view, which is your typical view. It's what majority of people are going to spend their time in. But viewport that I personally like to work in a lot in Blender and in TerraForge is orthographic. So not so much in this mode. This is orthographic view, but if I press 7, then I can snap to a top-down orthographic mode. So why this is really nice, I can be extremely tile specific for where I want to add things. Like if I copy this and paste this, you can very easily place things exactly where you want them. So a pretty handy little tool. You can just press 5 on the numpad to get out of orthographic view as well, switch back to perspective, or you can just manually do it over here. Your field of view is set to 60 baseline, so you can adjust this if you want. I would prefer, personally, to keep it at 60. As you can see, this is 30, we're moving around. Doesn't really look super natural, but maybe if you're doing like a cinematic shot, you can mess around with this. If we go down to 140, obviously, pretty interesting, but you could get probably some pretty cool shots with this as well. So if we go right around, back to 60. The camera speed, I like to work in, honestly, the lowest setting, just because when I do map work, I feel like I'm pretty meticulous in what I like to do and how I do work. So, but you can increase this, it goes up to 5, as you can see, and you can shoot around the map super quick. Which also reminds me, moving around the map is WASD, and then if you want to go up and down, Q brings you lower, E brings you higher. Though you can just point the camera around and move up and down freely if you want, but if you just want to move like you're in an elevator shaft, up or down, that's Q and E. With also pressing in a direction, if I press shift, that speeds me up. And then also if I hold down Control while moving, it slows me down. So pretty typical controls. Yeah, so the brush tool, it's only active when you are on, let's say, the height tool, the overlay, or the underlay. So that's pretty negligible here right now, just render distance. If you're on a one region map, which a majority of you will be, more than likely, this is not important at all because it does not affect you whatsoever, as you can see. When you render a ton more regions, then that's something you can play around with. LOD, this could be used for performance if you find that your performance is a little lacking, which it should not be, which we can talk about at the bottom of this as well. You can adjust the slider. So baseline, this has none, and then it tells you here in the tooltip kind of what that does. So if we switch to light, it removes all ground decoration, as you can see. If we go to heavy, it switches to all object types except for walls. So like object type 10, for example, that's going to be, your desks, crates, bookshelves, etc. That's gone out of the rendering view. So it's just going to make overall like your performance slightly increase. So something to keep in mind. FPS limit, you can keep it uncapped or you can cap it at whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just personal preference, really. Here, as you can see, the sky that I have set is blue. You can change this to anything you want. If you want to do yellow, if you want to do red, you can sort of mess around with this and kind of have some cool cinematic shots as well. Like if you're doing, you know, some sort of dungeon or something like that, you can do whatever you want there. Brightness, as you would expect, pretty straightforward. Color banding. If you look here, you can see these bands of color. If you want those gone, you just bring this down. And now you have that nice smooth terrain that, yeah, the majority of folks like. Texture filtering, you'll probably notice that these trees look pretty funky. So if we go to disabled, you're going to get that full look that's typical for how you'd expect. Obviously this looks crazy because the terrain is crazy. So smooth terrain, full back faces, not really important to people. I don't feel like the average individual is even going to know what this means. So you can just keep it toggled on and you're going to get the look that you're aiming for. These next one, anti-aliasing and ambient occlusion. This is really not needed whatsoever. I thought that this was just like a fun little way to make your maps look aesthetically pleasing if you want to get like a snapshot or something like that. So you can turn this on, you can switch it to whatever you want, you can switch it to ultra. As you see, you know, if we go down here, say I turn this off. As you can see, there is little jagged pixels here. If we turn on anti-aliasing, it smooths that out. So now you get a really clean look for your models and your overall terrain. You can play around with all of these. I would not personally edit with these on, yeah, just because it's going to not perform nearly as good as if you had them off. So, and they're super unnecessary as well. I would just turn these on if you're gonna get snapshots of something, or as you can see, it's kind of gives you a pretty cool effect. So visibility, I showed this earlier, but the height level dictates which level you're on. So you have 0 to 3, so 4 total height levels. And you want to toggle hidden tiles if you're going to switch to a different height level, because this will be your ground, essentially. If you do not have hidden tiles toggled on, you will not be able to edit this terrain, place objects, etc. So as you see, each level has its own, or each height level has its own grid that you can edit. Yeah, and then show all heights. This is going to keep you on whichever height level you have specified. Visually, you're going to see all of the height levels. The reason why this also looks super funky is because I messed with the terrain earlier. So that's as you would expect. This is not a rendering issue. So yeah, we toggle that off. Show objects, that's what it sounds like. Show overlays, also what it sounds like. And then hidden tiles, say we go here and we don't have this toggled on, that grid is going to be gone. So again, if we're doing edits on a different height level, we want this toggled on. Map icons, 3D. The map icons are these things. So these little shortcuts that kind of tell you what is what. So if we toggle these on, it's pretty straightforward for what they represent. And it's just a gray box with the sprite loaded in it. So now we can toggle that off. This is super handy. Debug ID, if you go, you need to have it on select object mode and then have the debug ID on. If you have a map loaded and you have no idea what ID, what object is, you can just hover over it and it will tell you. 10822, if we go over here, 10822, perfect, it's right there. So, super handy little tool to have. Yeah, so we can turn this off. Tile labels, these are also really handy to have if you need to match something. So, if we go here, overlay IDs, 5, if we're here, if you see overlay swatch number 5, we're just able to freely match this a lot easier. Obviously not water, but like if you had dirt, some of these look pretty dang similar. So you can see like 21 and 22, they look pretty close to the same. So you easily could eyeball this and mess this up. So it's just a nice little tool to have. Underlay IDs, same idea. Tile heights, this is in relation to the height tool where we could set our heights before. This allows us to just see like what something is. Like if I want 1423 right here, if I want a part of the map to be 1423 as well, because I want to create a bridge from here to there, I can create 1423 over here, snap a bridge, and it's going to be exactly the same height. It's going to be perfect. Very good to have for sure. Moving on to performance, this is just showing you your baseline performance here. As you see, one region, got a lot going on with the NPCs, all these animations playing, etc. We're sitting at a very comfortable FPS right now while we're recording as well, you know, so pretty cool stuff. If we turn this over here, because we have culling as well, you can see our FPS shoots up too, because we're not actually rendering all those objects behind us anymore. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. You know, I tried to push performance to be as good as I could personally make it. I'm sure that many folks can make it better, but anyways, we'll toggle this off, and we have the compass up here. Just to touch on a couple of more things, we have the compass. You can click it, it'll snap to true north. Pretty nice to have, probably for bigger maps as well. You have, let's go back to high level 1. You have the world map here. This changes to how large of a map you have loaded. Like we have one region loaded, so it's just loading this one region. If you have 25 regions loaded, it's going to load all 25, which I'll show you here in a second. Tools, we have a config editor. We have objects. You come over here, you have a cave entrance. You have all these configs that you can change per object type, as you can see, all these different objects. This here is just showing the footprint of this actual object. These are OSR or tile specific to the actual map, so this is how it renders, and based on the size that you have set, this is its bounding box. And if it comes out of this bounding box, that's where you're going to run into rendering issues, clipping issues, which is super common. So that's the top-down view. So you can see, you know, it fits perfect in here. Front, this is essentially how high it sits. So, you know, about 2 tiles high, roughly. If it's an animated object, like maybe a crate here, this crate, you can see it's moving around. So you should be able to easily tell if you're going to have any clipping issues in whatever project you eventually bring this into, if you have a project you're bringing it into. You can tweak these too. You can adjust the size. So as you see, as I increase this size, all of a sudden this box turns blue because it's telling you, hey, this is going to give you some clipping issues. And you can see the preview also adjusts your changes. You can come down here and click save, and it'll save all of that. These are the colors that are in relation to this object here. You should be able to come over here and change these, and just change the object kind of on the fly. Say bright blue. Yep. So if we come here, we press save. I'm going to pack it to my cache. Pack to my cache. I'm going to close that. And just for the sake of testing, I will show you. I will close this. I will go to Object View. Go to Object. Here's my crate. And as you see, the crate is updated. Packed to the cache. And it has all of the changes that we just applied to it. So this allows you to change things on the fly. Super handy to have, for sure. So if we go to the config editor as well, say we want to create a new object entirely, I could right click create. I could do create new, I could duplicate it. Say I duplicate it. I go to object type 10 again. And so here I have the crate that I just edited, but I duplicated it, so now it's a new object in my cache, and I can change this to be whatever I want. So this allows you to easily pack new objects, change the colors, change the sizes, do all of this stuff. I mean, things that you previously had to work in multiple different softwares to to do any of this in. I've made this all kind of isolated to just this software. So should make your workflow substantially faster, substantially easier. Same concept. I'm not going to go through the same workflow, but for NPCs. So same bounding box, as you see. The zombie is probably a better one to show. You can see it kind of moving around. You can do the same thing, but you can use these here and kind of pause it. You can right click, you can duplicate, create new. You can tweak it all you want. You can color it, texture, position, scale, all that fun stuff. Underlays, you can create new underlays on the fly, immediately pack to your cache. Textures, same exact thing. You can do all of that. So yeah, that's for the config editor. We have 4 tools built into this, and then we go over here, texture editor, and you can pack new textures super easily. You can come here, you can adjust a texture to whatever you want. And then you can just save whatever changes you have here. So you can create essentially an infinite amount of textures. Just keep on editing. If we also go to, texture editor here, you can import an image. You can import any image. It will automatically reduce the amount of colors in that texture, that image, to 255 unique colors. And it will also resize it down to 128 by 128 pixels, which is what you need. Some things I'm not really going to go too deep into is if you have any like corrupt XTs, this tool here will sync it directly from OpenRS2. So super easy tool to use, very handy to have. You can pack your world map to your cache. The building designer, this is not something that I quite have done yet, but I'll just show you a quick concept for how I'm wanting to do it. So here, like you can see the brush type here. This is all interior walls, and this is how it's going to function, at least once I get this completed. So these are windows, this is a door. And now I'm going to arm this, arm for placement. I'm gonna go here, click. And the concept here is that these are going to be objects, wall objects, and door, window, etc. I have overlays in place for these just so, because this is obviously a work in progress, so it's just an easy way for me to identify what is what. Hotkeys, you can configure the hotkeys to be whatever you want, however you want. Very straightforward. Help, Discord link. You can reset your layout. So here I have this specific to how I like it, but if you reset it, it just kind of has everything clumped in the middle, and you can drag these and dock them wherever you want. So, you know, I could have my rendering window here. I like it to be center though. I can drag these wherever I want and play around with that. Let's see what's something I can show you really quick. Just for the sake of it, let's load like a 5x5 to show you what that looks like. So as you can see, pretty smooth. You can edit massive regions. This was also the fog that I was talking about before, linear fog, so you can see it. You know, this is 25 regions loaded. The average individual is not going to be editing 25 regions at once. It's just a nice feature to have, and I think it's a testament to the performance and the focus on performance. So yeah, if we go to new as well, you can import a height map. This is just via noise, Perla noise, or you can go to generate. So if we go to generate, we have, this is again also a work in progress. We have different biomes though. So just for the sake of this test, let's toggle maybe just mountains and woodlands, and maybe a 4x4. And let's maybe re-roll a seed. Sure. So boom. You immediately have a map generated for you. You can come over here, you can mess around with all of this, as you see. and I have it biome specific. So like this is woodlands here. So in woodlands, I made it so it spawns a certain type of grass and different sort of foliage and tree types and all that stuff. This is all going to be configurable, so you can be like, hey, in my woodland, I want it to spawn X tree, X grass, etc. And it'll do that. And then obviously here, as it progresses up, because it's elevation sensitive or specific, you can set different ground decorations as well. And I didn't get as far as going up to like the snowy peaks and stuff like that. But so yeah, you can play around with any of these here. This is like modern day map making. Anyways, that is the map editor. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and yeah, if you guys have any recommendations or suggestions or whatever, please let me know. I'm more than happy to listen to your guys' suggestions and implement whatever makes sense. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.